Hello everyone, today is 8th of July, still, now it's 10 to 3, middle of the day by Moscow time. I'm Levan Gudadze and this is my second update for the day in which I will share all the main news that was reported by Russian media since my first update, since this morning, and there is quite a number of very important developments and news that I like to share with you for this moment, and I will start with this news about massive missile strike that Russian armed forces conducted on military and logistics infrastructure of the Kiev regime, of Zelensky's regime, inside Kiev and in surrounding areas, also in number of other directions. I shared quite a number of photo and videos on my Telegram of these strikes. For example, this one, by the way. Or this video, or some others, for example, this video. This is from Kiev. This is also Kiev. And Russian Defense Ministry shared information about these strikes. For example, the warehouses of the Artyom plant, one of the main missile weapon manufacturers for the armed forces of Ukraine, the territory of the Zhuliany airport, presumably positions of their Patriot air defense systems, and energy infrastructure facilities in Ukrainian capital have been hit as a result of these strikes. Also, by the way, there are evidences that Kiev regime used air defense systems inside the city. For example, this photo, you can clearly see traces of the air defense systems missiles that went off, and the Russian Defense Ministry is reporting that as a result of unprofessional actions of the Kiev regime forces and unprofessional use of air defense systems, at least one of those missiles fell down on a civilian area and caused significant damage and the casualties. I will go through entire statement of Russian Defense Ministry on this matter, because the Kiev regime, as far as I understand, is trying now to create a media storm around the topic of alleged Russian intentional strikes on civilians, which is of course false information. If Russia wanted to strike civilian areas, then Kiev will look like Gaza does, or Rafah in Palestine. But Russia is acting very professionally, cautiously, and always tries to avoid any civilian casualties. And therefore, Kiev looks very different than Rafah and Gaza. So whatever noise Kiev regime gonna make, everybody with their understanding of the situation, with their more or less good level of information, will understand straight away that Kiev regime is just pushing false narratives. But let's go through a statement of Russian Defense Ministry. So this morning, in response to Kiev regime's attempts to damage objects of the Russian power infrastructure and economy, the armed forces of the Russian Federation delivered group strikes by long-range precision weaponry at objects of Ukrainian military industrial infrastructure and aviation bases of the armed forces of Ukraine. The goal of the strikes have been achieved. All the assigned targets have been engaged. Statements of the Kiev regime about allegedly deliberate missile strike launched against civilian facilities by the armed forces of the Russian Federation are false. Numerous published photos and footage from the Kiev clearly confirms that the destruction of the civilian areas was caused by Ukrainian air defense missile launched by anti-aircraft missile system inside the city. We note in particular that similar hysterics by the Kiev regime happened for years, and every time on the eve of another summit of its patrons or its masters from the NATO. And that's also interesting notice that somehow these kind of stories are happening exactly when there are some gathering of the Western masters of the Kiev regime, right? In tomorrow NATO summit will start work in Washington, right? It will last from 9th to 11th of July, I believe. And now we have this story. I would not be surprised at all if it was even not malfunction of the air defense system, if Kiev regime deliberately targeted civilians. I would not be surprised at all, because there was such stories also previously. When they're deliberately targeted with HARM missile, it was a Kramatorsk, isn't it? When they deliberately targeted civilian areas, they tried to blame Russia. And then, almost straight away, by the way, investigative journalists worldwide, based on the footage, based on the trajectory of the missile, they concluded that this missile was launched from Kiev regime's controlled territory, and eventually it has become clear that it was a US-made HARM missile that was used by Kiev regime to target civilians and then to blame Russia on that. Anyways, let's continue. The goal of such provocations is to ensure further funding for the Kiev regime and the continuation of the war to the last Ukrainian. This is the official statement of Russian Defense Ministry. And by the way, when Ministry is mentioning some fragments and some footage, this is the fragments, for example. These fragments that was found by civilians and posted by civilians on internet, these fragments come from air defense systems missile. These ones. This is air defense systems missiles fragments. When those missiles are approaching target, they are exploding, and a cloud of these shrapnels are created to make sure that the target is hit for sure. That's how many of those missiles are operating. And these fragments came from air defense systems missiles, according to experts, by the way. I'm no expert, but according to experts, that's what it is. So yes, very strong Russian missile strikes on military and logistics infrastructure of the Kiev regime today, not just in Kiev, but in several other areas also. And let's go through the map now, by the way. As you can see on those videos, these explosions are close to each other inside the city perimeter, isn't it? You probably noticed that. And that's why. This is this Artyom plant, this prolonged building, and this area here. This is all this Artyom missile manufacturing plant. And according to reports that I see, this is the area that was targeted today by Russian missile strikes. I guess this manufacturing enterprise will no longer be able to produce any weapons anytime soon. And also there was reports about Russian missile strike on Giuliani airfield area, where presumably Patriot air defense systems battery was located and destroyed. And there are some rumors, by the way, that during today's strike, point of command and control center of the foreign mercenaries were destroyed also. Kiev regime and the foreign mercenaries, and when I say foreign mercenaries, I mean NATO troops, NATO officers. So let's wait what additional information will become available during the day or in upcoming days, but that's information we have, that it was not just a strikes on energo facilities inside the Kiev or military industrial complex, but also strike on this Giuliani airport area to destroy Patriot air defense system, and also strike on command and control center of the NATO basically and the Kiev regime's officers. So if any additional news during the day, by the way, of course I will post about it on my Telegram. I don't think I'm gonna make a third update for the day, but I will update my Patreon obviously. And now let's go through some other news. For example, Russian Defense Ministry also reported that Russian armed forces conducted strike in Zhytomyr direction to hit, to neutralize basically airfield. This airfield here, under the name of Ozernoye. And this airfield was mentioned in that story, by the way, about attempt of Kiev regime to hijack Russian Tu-22M3 strategic bomber. Presumably that bomber should land on this airfield, probably during this counter-intelligence game that was conducted by Russian side. Russian intelligence officers gained some information about current situation on this airfield. Maybe they received information that there are some military assets on the airfield, and action was taken. Also, by the way, today we have reports about Russian strikes in Kryvyi Rog, in industrial area of the Kryvyi Rog, and several channels are reporting about huge number of casualties on part of Kiev regime's military personnel. This strike was also in industrial area, as you can see, by the way. This is a approximate area of targeting, and it's an industrial zone of Kryvyi Rog. Also, we had the information on strikes of Russian missile forces, Russian armed forces in the Dnipropetrovsk. Kiev regime calls this city Dnipro. So in Dnipropetrovsk also industrial area was targeted, as you can see, by the way, on this map. This is approximate point of the missile strike. It's industrial area. And we had information about Russian missile strike, long range precise missile strike in Kramatorsk area. And in Kramatorsk also manufacturing plant was destroyed, where Kiev regime was storing some weapon systems and restoring damaged weapon systems. So these plant strikes were quite precise, quite heavy, and I guess this manufacturing plant would not be able to conduct any support of Kiev regime's forces anytime soon. And also we had reports about Russian missile strike in Sumy direction, where energo facility was targeted. And if we zoom in, by the way, you can easily recognize that it is energo facility here. So this one was targeted also. And there were reports about many other operations of the Russian armed forces, of course, but there is no way I'm gonna be able to talk about all those informations in this short video. I guess military channels will provide great volume of information on that during the day. Let's continue with some other news now, and we have this report that Prime Minister of India, by the way, is already in Russia, Modi, and I guess his plane already landed in Vnukovo 2 airport in Russian capital, and I guess right now he is on his way to meet Russian president. There will be interesting conversation, of course. I spoke about this during the first update today, and whatever news comes out from this meeting, of course, I will share on my Telegram channel today and in tomorrow's updates. Also, by the way, Kommersant newspaper is reporting that Kremlin is supporting idea of Turkey about creation of a peace platform on Ukrainian crisis. This was stated by press spokesman of the Russian president, Dmitry Peskov. He said that, well, Russian president, Russian side finds interesting this idea of Turkey, and it will be useful if peace platform will be created, although we all understand that it not really depends just on Russia's or Turkish leadership's will. Of course, Western ruling class have to get involved in that, otherwise idea will stay as idea without any practical effect. Also, Kommersant newspaper is reporting that President of Russian Federation did not convey any message to Orban, to Biden or NATO. Of course, we all know that Vladimir Putin had a meeting with the Prime Minister of Hungary yesterday, and well, Peskov, press spokesman of the Russian president, said that no messages was given to Orban to to share it with Biden or NATO officials, other high-ranking leaders of the NATO countries, and we all, of course, all know that Orban went to China from Moscow, went to Beijing, and right now he's on his way to Washington. Probably he will have a meeting with Biden. Probably he will definitely participate in a NATO summit that will kick off tomorrow, and it will last for 2 or 3 days. And who knows, maybe Orban will meet with Trump also, because I find it difficult to believe that all this peace diplomacy of the Orban was just his initiative, and it's not a part of something bigger. Probably it is part of something bigger. We just don't have information about it yet. And in that case, it seems only logical if Orban will have a meeting now, not just with Biden. Biden is irrelevant. We all understand that, but with Trump, most likely future president of US. So let's see what will happen. But Peskov was asked about possible messages that was sent by Russian side with help of Orban, and Peskov said no, there was no messages. Okay. Either way, Orban clearly deserves much more than Obama did at the time to receive a Nobel Peace Prize, by the way, if you ask me. I mean, well done to him. What can I say, by the way? Despite all the odds, despite the heavy criticism from the collective West, he just went on this peace marathon, and well, I can only applaud him for that. Great job. Kommersant, and hopefully this activity of the Orban will have its effect to end this conflict in Ukraine as soon as possible. Let's hope so, at least. Kommersant newspaper is reporting, as I just mentioned, that from Beijing, Orban will fly and already on his way to Washington. This was said by Orban himself. He wrote about it on his Instagram page, I believe. So yes, great politician, by the way, great politician of the modern days from Europe. Orban is I guess top politician of Europe right now. There is no other on the same level in Europe. Fico, by the way, Slovakia's Prime Minister Fico is also on the same page, I think, but more time needed, of course, for Fico to prove that he is real. I mean, he is absolutely real, and he is, I believe, after all. Just recently, he was shot several times for his principal stance when it comes to Western proxy war against Russia, Slovakia's involvement in this proxy war, and relationships between West and East. RT is reporting that well, Stoltenberg does make headlines once again. Still Secretary General of the NATO, and he said that no promise was given to Ukraine that this quasi-state will join NATO in a decade, according to him. So there is no guarantee that Ukraine will join NATO within the next decade. Secretary General of the NATO, Jens Stoltenberg, has stated, adding that Kiev's membership depends on whether it will wins the conflict with Russia. In an interview, and by the way, there is no way anybody can seriously any serious individual in this world can seriously talk about Kiev regime winning war against Russia. It's just totally nonsensical stuff, and I don't think Stoltenberg is that stupid that he don't understand this. Of course he understands, but he just don't really cares at this point, I guess. He constantly talks nonsense, so one more nonsensical statement, one less. Who cares no more, anymore? So, in an interview with the CBS News on Sunday, Stoltenberg, who will leave his post in October, was asked to explain why he hopes that Ukraine will join the US-led military bloc by 2034, rather than within the 3 years. Well, and then quote, well, no one has said exactly 10 years, but it's obvious that it is a very serious issue to bring in Ukraine. NATO's top official noted, explaining that Ukraine is now a country at war. He stressed that the most important thing for NATO now is to step up support to Ukraine to ensure that Ukraine prevails. That's the precondition for any future membership for Ukraine, which means, by the way, as I was saying from very beginning and always for years, even before special military operation started, I was saying always, there is no way, not even slight chance that Ukraine will ever join NATO. Not even slight chance, by the way. And I was correct. It is what it is. And Stoltenberg is saying basically exactly the same. Because he says that, until Ukraine will prevail and win this war, they cannot join NATO. He knows Ukraine will never win nothing. And therefore, Ukraine will never join NATO. Not in 10 years, not in 20, not in 50, not ever. And by the way, in a couple of years' time, max, there will be no more Ukraine on political map. So what we are talking about here. Maximum year or two. I don't know how long this conflict will last, but once this conflict will end, there will be no more Ukraine as a state on a political map. I'm convinced on that for 99%. There may be a slight chance that Kiev surrounding areas will remain on political map as a landlocked quasi-state under the name of Ukraine, but just a slight chance on that, 1% maybe. And possibly during the occupation of the Western Ukraine by NATO forces, they will continue to call these territories for a while Ukraine. But eventually, of course, Poland will have a claim on its territories, former territories, which is 70% of the Western Ukraine, if not more. Hungary will have a claim on Transcarpathia, which is also part of Western Ukraine, geographically speaking. And Romania will have some claims also on some parts of the Western Ukraine. And therefore, as I said, man, there will be no more Ukraine on the political map. Just give it time. Vzglyad newspaper is reporting that NATO plans to create another 35 to 50 brigades to defend itself from Russia. Unbelievable, man. These idiots, huh? Unbelievable. So yes, another reason to take money of their taxpayers of the NATO member states. Another reason to conduct this money laundering operation, to steal money from taxpayers, and this time it's another 35 to 50 brigades that NATO needs now to protect itself from Russia. And of course, no one will challenge, by the way, these idiots in leadership of NATO member states that are pushing these crazy narratives that since when Russia is become a main threat, where is the evidences that Russia has any plans to attack NATO, what the hell is going on here? No one will ask no question. And therefore, just mark my word, by the way, another dozens and dozens of billions of euros and dollars will be stolen from taxpayers on this purpose, to create another like few dozens of brigades to defend the alliance from the Russia. Unbelievable, man. And this was reported, by the way, by Reuters, citing unnamed sources. So I guess these sources of Reuters, they understand that they sound crazy, and probably they are crazy, and they don't even want to mention their names, but they want to prepare ground for this stealing. And that's why they are sharing this information now, that another brigades are needed. And to create a brigade, I mean, you need money. And from where this money is coming from? From pockets of the taxpayers, right? So 35 to 50 brigades, I guess that's, I mean, if you take in account corruption in the NATO, in the Western political systems, corruption, corrupt relationships between political systems and the military-industrial complex, when simple, I don't know, man, simple shovel costs, I don't know, 1,000% more for militaries than you can buy on a market. In such circumstances, I guess cost for one brigade to be created will be around, like, I don't know, 10, 15 billion, maybe more. Who knows? So you count, by the way, how much money they are willing, they are planning to steal from taxpayers. Interfax is reporting that in Belarus, combined exercises began between Belarusian and Chinese militaries. Interesting, I spoke about this news yesterday, that Chinese troops arrived in Belarus to participate in this combined military exercises. And yes, today this exercise is kicked off. Okay, very interesting. This is clearly a message, I said about it yesterday, that this is, in my opinion, clearly a message from Beijing that Western ruling class will mess around too much. And if they will try to provoke a full-scale confrontation with Russia, then Chinese militaries will be next to Russian and Belarusian militaries. They will stand next to Russia and Belarus, and it's not just China, by the way. I believe if full-scale confrontation will be provoked by Western ruling class, majority of the world will stand with us. That's how it is. Although I'm still little optimistic in this regard, and I still don't think that there will be full-scale confrontation between Russia and NATO. I know situation is very tense, emotions are high, and anything may happen in these crazy times. I do understand that, but still I think cool heads prevail in the West, at least I hope so, and they will not allow these crazy politicians in the West to provoke a Third World War and the end of everything. So therefore I don't believe that there will be full-scale conflict between Russia and NATO. Although some local scale skirmishes, some local scale confrontations between Russian and NATO troops may occur in the Middle East, in Ukraine, in some other places, in Africa or somewhere else, but local scale skirmishes that will not provoke full-scale conflict. TASS news agency is reporting that Macron refused to accept the resignation of the current Prime Minister of France, Gabriel Attal. Somehow this administrative coup worked out that Macron, his coalition, and this leftist bloc conducted, and they managed to keep Le Pen's party on the third place with some manipulations when from candidates that took third place from Macron's bloc or from that leftist party's bloc, those candidates removed themselves. They were removed so that all the votes will go to candidates of Macron or that leftists. And this way, through these manipulations, they managed to defeat Le Pen's party. And Macron will become noisier and noisier again because I guess he will receive these results of the elections as a sort of victory, or at least not a catastrophic defeat, and he will start acting hawkish again. Just give it a couple of days and we will start hear from Macron more and more crazy statements again. RT is reporting that 0% of Germans are very satisfied with the government, according to polls. What a surprise. What a surprise, man. But 0%? That's quite an achievement on part of Scholz, Baerbock, and the rest of the gang, isn't it? So not a single German national appears to be fully satisfied with their government. The latest IRD Deutschland Trend survey has revealed the country is currently governed by the so-called traffic light coalition, which consists of Chancellor Olaf Scholz's center-left Social Democrats, the Free Democrats, and the Greens. According to the survey conducted on July 1st and 3rd, through July 1st to 3rd, 0% of Germans said they were fully satisfied with the ruling coalition's work, with just 90% say they were somewhat satisfied. Their overall dissatisfaction rate with the government's policies rose to 81%, with 38% saying they were not satisfied at all. So yes, quite interesting numbers, by the way. As I said, Scholz's government is probably same level of disaster, approximately same level of disaster for Germany as Biden's administration for US. And I said many times before in previous updates that in my personal understanding, personal opinion, Biden's administration definitely worst was what happened to US in decades. And Scholz's government is probably the same for Germany. It's total disaster. It's the worst government Germany maybe ever had. This one, Scholz's government. But it is what it is, man. You know, German people wanted such a government. They voted for it, even if they did not really had any choice. because all these parties are controlled by Washington. We all know that. But still, they went to polling stations and they voted for these crazies, isn't it? They did. And they give them legitimacy with this voting. And they are destroying now Germany from within, and their poll numbers clearly demonstrating that when not even 0% of Germans, not even 1% of Germans are really satisfied with the work of the government. And by the way, I will end this update on this news from Vzglyad newspaper that according to Wall Street Journal, Kamala Harris, Vice President of US, Kamala Harris is only candidate that can replace Biden for Democrats. I mean, every other day there are articles in Western media, isn't it? Especially in US media. Today, Wall Street Journal is saying that it's Kamala Harris that will replace Biden. Yesterday, some other media outlet was reporting that there are some 10 names. It was, I can't remember, Washington Post or one of those, you know, when they come up with some 10 names, including Kamala Harris, of the, you know, candidates that can replace Biden. Then other media outlet is publishing an article that donors of the Democrats, some 160 big donors, 160 plus big donors are not happy with Biden and he should be replaced before end of this week and that kind of stuff. So you never know. I mean, Kamala Harris really, I cannot believe, by the way, in this, that Kamala Harris will be main candidate of the Democrats. I refuse to believe in this, by the way. She barely can said like 3-4 sentences in understandable ways. I mean, everybody, I don't know. It's up to Democrats. Who cares, man? Kamala Harris or someone else. But I mean, she's worse than Biden, man, if it's even possible. And the world gonna laugh at US even more. So do Democrats want that? Are their main goal is to make from US a laughing stock for this world, or what? They already damaged US on extreme ways with current administration, aren't they? And they want to continue this on this path now with Kamala Harris. I don't know, man. You know, as one say goes, nothing personal. You know, she may be a nice person in a life, who knows? But as a politician, she's total disaster. I watched several of her interviews, little episodes, by the way. I cannot watch entire interviews. I don't have nerves for that. But I mean, come on, yo. She is worse than Biden. So no, I don't think she will be a candidate. But Wall Street Journal thinks so. Let's see. And this is it for now. 39 minutes, not bad, quite short update. Hopefully you will find this video informative, interesting, useful, and if so, please click that like button, leave some commentary just about any topic. Likes and comments are only way we can somehow try at least and influence algorithm of YouTube. And on Rumble also, by the way, although Rumble's algorithm is definitely much more adequate than YouTube, as far as I understand. And if you can, please share information about my channel with your friends in real life or on internet, on the platforms that you're actively using. And if you find my work interesting, useful, if you think my channels deserve to exist in this field of news and political commentary, please consider to support with small donations through PayPal, Boosty, or by subscribing to my Patreon page, on which, by the way, I have some extra content on regular basis. Few hours ago I uploaded next episode of next episode of Streets of Moscow. This time it's Novokuznetskaya Street and Novokuznetskaya side street from Novokuznetskaya to Pyatnitskaya, central part of Moscow. Hopefully community on Patreon and Boosty will find that video somewhat even entertaining, something different, to get some break from this news and political stuff. So yes, all the links under this video in description box and in the pinned comment. This is it for now. Have a great day and take care.